anything you'd like to share before we get started?
Well, we have our international training next week, so this is a good sort of jump start. You know how important training is. So our company has got a big push on internationally to sort of help people get more for their money online. So we're going to hear a lot of training on that.
Fantastic. And maybe you could just share, I know you probably, when you invited people here, you might have shared with them a little bit about our background as far as you and I working together. Maybe you could just share one or two ways that training with me has helped you.
Sure. I can be pretty specific, Eric, because we have different specialties in our company. Shop.com is kind of the mothership, but there's all these different areas to specialize in. And as you know, I work with health professionals and doctors. And when I first started working with you, you were helping me come up with scripts. I remember you telling me that people are predictable. They act in predictable ways. And I remember thinking that that's not my experience of people. And you said, well, that's because you have to have a good script, and then they act in predictable ways. And so I started to learn your script writing, and I got more and more effective at talking to health professionals, especially medical doctors, to the point where I just told you I was actually invited by 15 doctors in Princeton to do a presentation. And I actually had, when I got there, they said I had 10 minutes less time than I'd planned for. So because you taught me scripts, and I wrote a script in each slide of my presentation, and I practiced it, I could do that. So I just feel like in lots of ways you've helped me, because I see that people have trouble accomplishing things they want to accomplish because they can't put the right words together. And I still have trouble with that too, but the more I learn, the more I practice it, the better I get.
Yeah, and part of what I'm about is a skill transfer. In other words, transferring a skill set over to a client like you, and then once you learn that particular sales skill, you have it forever. So has that been your experience, that some of the skills I've transferred over to you, and you feel that you have them for the rest of your life?
I do. In fact, I feel it's easier and easier. I've been able to take our company's trainings that they've done over the last 12 years and use the PowerPoints and put scripts into each slide so easily, Eric. It just flows out of my head now because of, I studied for the test, and I became a silver protege, and I practice, and I'm still practicing what you taught me. I think I have a couple of more sessions with you that I've been saving up because I'm working on all the things that you taught me.
Yeah, excellent. Well, before I dive into the content, maybe you could just share, just briefly, because Rob from my office and I communicated with you via email about setting up a webinar like this, and you said, yeah, I'd love to set up a webinar. So maybe you could just share, just briefly, why you felt it was important for people to come and hear my ideas.
Well, because I see that people struggle and they really want to succeed, and everybody needs other people to do that. So you have to be able to talk to other people. You have to be able to move people to action. And I notice that other people have had the same struggles that I've had, and I can see that I've worked on it, and you've helped me, and it's improved. So I know if that works for me, it'll work for other people. And I notice we have a lot of Asian people in our business, and they seem to work really well together as a team, and I think it's a kind of cultural thing. And in the U.S., I think that like the independent spirit and all that's been our history, and we have a harder time working together as a team. And I think you're really good at empowering people and encouraging them and making them feel like they're all part of a team working together. So I remember you've put out a couple of times when somebody in your group, your protege group, was having a struggle and could everybody help. you just operate your business like you're a team player.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's certainly one of our topics today, and I think that's a great introduction. So I'm going to go ahead and get our training started. All right. Well, this is Eric Lofholm, and I want to take a moment and acknowledge all of you for coming to this webinar. And when you come to a webinar like this, it creates a possibility that your life's going to change. It's going to improve. Kathy and I met many years ago, and we met, I don't know if it was on a conference call or a webinar, but however, that very first time that we connected, she really resonated with my message. And as you were all listening, a lot of what I'm about is a skill transfer. And I'm really passionate about professional sales training. And I'll tell you a little bit about my story in a little bit, because I started off as a sales failure. And I didn't excel in sales until I was professionally trained. And once I was professionally trained, my life just took off from a business standpoint because of a skill transfer. So this is very different than motivation, although hopefully you do get motivated and encouraged by the fact that you're here. This is something much, much deeper than motivation. And so we're just going to dive right in, and I do encourage you to take some notes today. I have several breakthrough ideas that I want to share with you. This will be an hour or less. So the absolute max will be 60 minutes, probably go a little bit less than that. It's likely that you'll experience a breakthrough that will result in a permanent change in your business. So we're looking for you to grab on to one or two ideas today, one or two shifts in thinking, one or two strategies that you can implement and potentially have the benefit from for the rest of your life. So I want to share with you just a little bit about my background. When I graduated from high school, I was just kind of wandering aimlessly through life. I wasn't doing speaking like what I'm doing today. I had no goals, no direction, and I ended up as a line cook at McDonald's for 3 years while I was attending community college. And, of course, you're supposed to go to community college. It's designed to be completed in 2 years. I went for 5 years, never graduated, so I was the opposite of motivated, and I didn't have a vision for my future. And then everything changed for me, and I went and I listened to a speaker named Dante Pirano. And Dante is a multi-millionaire real estate investor. And he shared this message that was exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. You might have had that experience in your life where somebody shared something with you at the exact right time. So I got so inspired by his message that I went to work for him, and I became his assistant. So it's kind of like the show The Apprentice with Donald Trump. I had an apprentice-like experience in my early 20s where I left my job at McDonald's and I started associating with a multimillionaire real estate investor. And my whole world changed because of association. I mean, you can just think about that logically. If you're hanging out with people that you're making $5-6 an hour and you're going to community college, and then you change your association and now you're spending time with an ultra wealthy person, obviously he thought differently than the people that I would normally hang out with. And so when I got there, he offered me, in addition to being his assistant part-time, a sales job. So this is a photo of me at my first sales job working for Dante. And I was very stylish back then, as you could tell. I had my purple pants and my matching plaid socks. And at this company, I was the bottom producer because I didn't know anything about sales. I had never been professionally trained. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to deliver an effective presentation. I didn't know how to close. I didn't know how to generate a lead, book an appointment, generate a referral, bring the benefits to life, build trust and rapport. And they didn't train me. No wonder I struggled. So if any of you listening right now, if you've ever struggled with the idea of sales before, or if you're needing it in whatever business you're in, if you're in Kathy's business and you're building a team, or you're, an entrepreneur, small business owner, whatever you do, if improving sales skills would help you, but you're struggling, I want you to know that I understand, because that's exactly where I was at. And at the end of my first year, I missed the quota, the minimum standard, which was $10,000 a month in gross sales, and I missed it 2 months in a row. And my manager pulled me into the office, and he's like, Eric, you've missed quota 2 months in a row. You've got one more month or you're out. So my back was against the wall, and I had to hit my quota to keep my job, and I had a very real problem. I didn't know how to sell. So I started looking for answers, and I met this gentleman, Dr. Donald Moyne, author of Unlimited Selling Power, as well as several other books. Dr. Moyne, from my view, is the most brilliant sales mind living today. I've been in this conversation that we're having right now about increasing sales for the last 21 years, and I've had the privilege of literally working with some of the best and brightest business and sales minds on the planet. People like Michael Gerber of the E-Myth, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins. I did a webinar with Tom Hopkins recently. Tom's, a legendary sales trainer. Dr. Moyne, in my experience, is the most brilliant sales mind living today. So I'm about to get fired from my job because I can't sell, and then association kicked in again. So I was associating with Dante, but he wasn't a sales trainer. He was a real estate investor. Then I started associating with this guy, Dr. Moyne, and he taught me his system. The quota is 10,000 in gross sales. I do 10,500, meaning I made quota by one sale, and the next month I did 51,000. I went from worst to first in 60 days, and I've never looked back. I've done millions and millions of dollars in sales since then. And what it really is about is a skill transfer. So that's what this webinar is about. It's about opening you up to this idea of what could your life look like if you improved with your lead generation skills, your appointment setting skills, your sales skills, your confidence. Because for a lot of people, if I could wave a magic wand and improve them in those skills, it's life-changing. It changes where they live. It changes the car they drive. It changes the clothes they wear. It changes their rank in a company. It changes their income. It changes their retirement. I mean, listen, this is big stuff. This is big stuff, what we're talking about. And the only reason I know what I know is in large part to Dr. Moyne. Now, I've learned from other people since then, but he was the one that made the biggest impact. And I was able to take what Dr. Moyne taught me and springboard that into a sales position with Tony Robbins. I worked for Tony for 3 years, became the top producer on the team that I worked at with Tony, and then I left 16 years ago to start my current company, Eric Lofholm International. We're a global sales training organization, and our mission is to help people make more sales. So what I do, very well is teach sales skills and provide professional level training, and we do it web-based, so you don't have to travel to California. In fact, not sure if Kathy's ever come out here. We've met. We might have met, but the majority of the training, if we haven't met, has all been done web-based. And I have clients all over the world that they want to learn this information, and so we just do it in a way where it's convenient, just like what we're doing right now. So when I left Tony Robbins' organization, he hired me back to train his sales team, which was a contract that I had for 2 years. I'm not saying these things to impress you. I mean, what I've done doesn't really matter. What matters is there's profound knowledge that I have access to because of mentors, and my gifting is teaching, just explaining concepts in ways that are easy for people to understand. So what this webinar is about, I want to teach you some concepts that I think could be game changers for you, and then just invite you to mentor with me. It's $50 a month for a few months. I'll tell you all the details at the end. Financially, it's no big deal, but what's a big deal is the possibility of a skill transfer. And I've got a way that I can really, really help you. If you're hungry for this knowledge and you want to get better at sales, or get good at sales, or great at sales, or maybe even master it, maybe even go to a very, very high level, then I can help you. So before we get to how I can help you, I want to train you and give you some great, great value. I'm a systems sales trainer, and what I've found in my experience is that there's three key systems to grow any business: lead generation, appointment setting, and lead conversion. So if I was coaching you one-on-one, I'd want to know, how are you generating leads online and offline in a systematic way? Systematic meaning it's something you can duplicate and do it over and over and over and over and over again. So like the webinar you're on right now, this is one of my lead generation systems. I come into trainings like this for free as a way of meeting new people. So this is my second webinar that I've done today. The first one, we had 220 people. They were almost all of them meeting me for the first time. On this webinar, I think there's 8 of you, and many of you are meeting me for the first time. So from a business standpoint, this is a lead generation system, and that's how if I was you, I'd think about leads. And then appointments. How do you systematically take that lead and book an appointment? And then once you book the appointment, how do you systematically move the prospect to action in a predictable way? Kathy mentioned this idea, human beings respond in predictable ways. And so what that means is that if you're giving a presentation and the person says, I need to think about it, then you give another presentation and the person says, I need to think about it. You give another presentation and the person says, I need to think about it. You figured out how to deliver a presentation and get the prospect to say, I need to think about it. Okay? So that's not what we want. So we want to craft a presentation that guides the prospect to say yes. And I want you to know that that is absolutely possible. So I get sales results just about every presentation that I deliver. Now, I'm not suggesting I have a 100% close ratio because that's not true. But when I sell, I'm very consistent in my results. And before I got trained, I was very inconsistent. There's 3 ways to elevate your results: the inner game, the outer game, and action. So inner game is mindset, belief systems, and comfort zones. It's the mental side of selling. Outer game is how-tos, techniques, sales techniques, closing skills, sequencing of a sales presentation. How do you build trust and rapport? All of that's learnable. And then action means delivering presentations, getting in front of your prospects so you can get the sales results you want. Build your team, make sales, build your practice, whatever type of business you're in. Now, Kathy was talking about team. That's one of our core subjects of this call. And team is a mindset. See, I used to be a lone ranger. I used to be proud of the fact that I could build a business without team. And then I really got excited about it when my business tanked in 2008 because of the economy. I'm like, I have to play team because I'm not going to survive if I don't. So I really got into collaboration. Like this webinar is collaboration. It's collaboration between Kathy and Betsy, the 2 people that did the majority of the inviting for this webinar. So I'm delivering the training, and Kathy and Betsy did the inviting, and my company provided the webinar. And so it was all of us working together. And so we couldn't have done this webinar if it wasn't all of us together. If Betsy and Kathy didn't invite, and then if I didn't show up, or if I didn't have a webinar system, like we all had to work together. And this can transform your business, because when you can work in a collaborative way, I mean, something as simple as years ago I had a neighbor and his kids went to the same school that my kids went to, and so after a few days we figured out we were driving the kids to the same school every day. So he drove one day, I drove one day. We just trade off. So we cut down the drive time by 50%. And then if I couldn't do it because I was on a trip, he'd cover for me and vice versa. So that simple little example saved a lot of time, and it created more fun for my kids because they got to connect with the neighbor kids, and that was a fun thing. They got to ride to school for a year. That's a very basic form of collaboration, but think about the value of that. Greater connection, greater friendship, saving time, 0 cost. So you can do that in business. The webinar I did earlier today, here's how the deal worked. I promoted him. His name is Josh Turner. I promoted a webinar for him and put 200 people on a webinar for him for his business, and then he promoted me to his list, and he put 200 people on a webinar for me. So he got a webinar with 200 brand new people, and I got a webinar with 200, and it's 0 cost. Do you see the power of that? See, you can do this in business through collaboration. Big business does this all the time. Starbucks, Barnes & Noble, right? You put a Barnes & Noble inside of a Starbucks. Well, we can do that too. And so you start thinking about how you can work with other people, and we're going to talk about this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm going to give you the big idea of the book, and I'm going to teach you something, even if you've heard of the book, that I'm going to give you an aspect that you may never have heard of before, and I'm going to give you an idea that could literally change your life. It could change the way that you approach things, because there's an insight about Think and Grow Rich that very few people know. And if you don't know the book, it doesn't matter. I'm going to teach you the principle in just a moment. So with team, I learned this thing. Everybody has to win. And this happened years ago when I was married, and I had a big month, one of the biggest months I'd had in my business at that point in a long time. And so my business was flush with cash. And our personal banking account, our checking account, our savings, or combined, there was very little money in there. And I didn't care because the business was just flush with cash, and there wasn't a lot of money in the personal. I don't care. We got plenty of money. Well, in her mind, she wasn't winning because the business was flush with cash, but the personal account wasn't. And so it taught me this principle that everybody has to win. See, the people on your team, they have to win. And we've got to look at things from other people's perspective, because your favorite thing to talk about is yourself. My favorite thing to talk about is myself. So when you sell to somebody else, you've got to look at it from their perspective. So on a team, everybody has to win. Now, I've had teams for years. I have employees that work for me and contractors. I have affiliates. I have joint venture partners. I have, all these people in my life, and I got to think about them and them winning. And Kathy mentioned something, because if any of you on this call, if you choose to join my program, you become, in my company, we call it a protege. And we have a protege community. And some problems can only be solved with community. Some problems are so big that you can only solve it with community. And so several years ago, one of my former employees, she didn't even work for me anymore. Hang on one second. She didn't even work for me anymore, and I saw on her Facebook news feed that one of her friends growing up was involved in a house fire, and she was a single mom, and now she was homeless. And the Red Cross had apparently put her up in a hotel, and that money was about to run out, and she was going to be homeless. And so I found out about it, and my former employee's name is Jennifer. So I called Jennifer up. Hey, can you give me the phone number of your friend? Her name is Carrie, and I wanted to talk to Carrie. So I got Carrie on the phone, and I said, what happened? Well, this fire, and we're living in the hotel. The Red Cross is about to stop paying, and we're about to become homeless. She had like a 6-year-old daughter. And I said, okay, why don't you come on my protege call? We do it every Thursday. Come on the call, and you tell everybody your story, and we're going to raise some money for you. So we brought her on the call. She told her story, and one of the other proteges in the community set up a fund to, like, where we could all donate. And I told everybody, I said, just give what you can, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can, and let's just all pitch in and get her into a studio apartment. So everybody pitched in. I think I might have gave like $250 or something. I gave a little bit. Everybody gave a little bit. We raised $1,500, and we got her in a studio apartment. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it helped 2 people, her and her daughter, which is not a lot of people, but it's still 2 people. And we solved the problem with community. It's a mindset. See, Kathy wants you to learn this mindset about team. And now we just do what we can, right? And so as a human being, I just do what I can. And so I want you to think about that. You can think about it in business, like this deal I did with this guy Josh today, where he promoted me and I promoted him, and we had a very formal business agreement. We were both able to win. In Carrie's case, we just pulled the community together. So sometimes we get benefit, like when the example with me and the ride share with my neighbor. I got benefit because I saved 50% of the rides. But sometimes it's not defined like that. Like when we all donated money for Carrie, it wasn't about me getting anything out of it. And I didn't even care about the accolades. I'm only bringing it up in this call. I don't normally tell that story. It's just that Kathy had mentioned how my community, sometimes we get behind people to support them. So sometimes we just give to give. Sometimes we help to help. And what I believe is this. I believe that when you operate from the spirit of generosity, you steer luck in your favor. So I literally, every day, I do my best to go out and create value in the marketplace. And by focusing on creating value, I'm really lucky Like luck's in my favor. Good fortune comes my way all the time. And I believe that I'm paying my dues by just doing good things. And it feels good, and I operate from that place. And so it's just something for you to think about. I'm just a guy out in California who used to be a cook at McDonald's who trains people in sales now, and I'm just sharing with you some things that have worked for me that have helped me in my life. So I want to give you a breakthrough concept. I want you to just do your best to really get what I'm going to teach you right now, because this is one of the things that's made the biggest difference in my life. You know, going from a college dropout to, you know, a very successful entrepreneur and sales trainer and so forth. And so we've all heard the expression, or, you know, most of you have heard of the personal development idea. What is your why? What's your reason to wake up every day and get out there and make it happen? To be encouraged and inspired and motivated. What's your reason? And if you can come up with the reason, then that can really get you to get out there and make it happen. And so the title of the book is Think and Grow Rich. And I started thinking one day, like, why am I so darn motivated? You know, I wake up every day. This morning, I went to my son last night. My son's 13 years old, and he's starting to really get into basketball. And so I said last night about 8 o'clock, his name is Brandon. I said, Brandon, you want to go down to the gym tomorrow morning? We'll get up at 6. We'll leave at 6:20. And I'll rebound for you, and you just shoot until 7 o'clock in the morning. And he goes, yeah. So we got up today, because the only time I had time in my schedule today to do this was that time, and I thought the gym will be empty. So we got up at 6, and we went down to that gym, and there was nobody in the gym for a little while. It's just us. And I rebounded for him until he made 100 shots. And we left a little bit before 7. But it's like, where does that motivation come from? And I want to give you that insight, because there may be somebody on this call that maybe you're not that motivated right now. Maybe you are. So I think for 5 hours or more a week. Just think. And what I do is I just sit with ideas, like the conversation we're having today, playing team, collaboration. You know, imagining what your life could look like if you improved your sales skills. I'll just take these concepts and I'll just sit with them. And so then I started thinking, well, where does my motivation come from? And I sat with this idea, like, what's my why? I just keep asking myself that question. What's my why? Not for like 5 minutes, like for hours. Because here's the thing. You can have so much influence over your life. You can create so many extraordinary results. But I'll tell you a real cool insight. My experience is this. A lot of my best ideas, they come from my imagination. But I need time for my brain to process stuff and figure stuff out. So I'll just sit with an idea and I'll think about it. What's my why? What's my why? What is my why? And I'll sit with that. So one day I came up with this why. And there's an app you guys can get in the App Store. It's free. Final Countdown. And it's an app that counts down time. So I started thinking, you know, how long do I want to be a professional sales trainer? And how many productive years do I have left? And the answer I got was until I'm 75. And then I stretched it to the day before I turned 76. So health permitting, God willing, I will do what I do right now. I'm 44. I'll do this until I'm 76, 31 years. Well, the day before I turned 76, which is September 12th, 2046. Now, that's pretty precise, and I'm kind of weird like that, like how my brain thinks. I get real specific about numbers sometimes. So I thought, well, how many productive days do I have left? And I got this app, Final Countdown, and I plugged in September 12th, 2046. And I'm just going to pull it up my app and give you the exact days. Okay, it's 11,367 days, 20 hours, 31 minutes, 7 seconds, 6 seconds, no, 5 seconds, 4. So it counts down. That's motivating for me because it's my life ticking down right in front of my eyes. So in other words, Eric, get moving. You only have 11,367 days left. You might go, Eric, that's a lot of time. I don't really look at it like that. For the game I'm playing, as big as I want to make my life, I got to get going. Now, whether you choose to do a final countdown like what I did or not, it's not the point. The point is, where did the idea come from that inspires me to get after it in life? Where did the idea come from? It came from me sitting with the question, what's my why? Think and Grow Rich. It's not just asking yourself the question, what's your why? It's sitting with any question. Like, if your marriage isn't going so great right now, it's sitting with it and going, what can I do to rekindle the flame? How can I step up as a dad? If your finances aren't doing so great right now, what are the changes that I can make right now to better my finances? And you just keep sitting with that question. You keep sitting with that question. This is what I do. So I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just sharing with you from my experience something that I've done that's really helped me in designing my life and creating the moves that I want to make. All right, next idea. In 2003, I was on track for my first $1 million year. I had 20 people working for me, and I was crushing it. Everything's going great. And the wheels fell off my business. Long story short, I lost 19 of my 20 staff. They either quit or I had to let them go. And I had a big office that I had personally guaranteed the rent on that I had to shut down. And I had a phone system for 20 and expenses for 20 and the whole thing. And all my cash flow stopped. And I looked at my bank account, and I was upside down $150,000. Creditors started calling me. I was married at the time. I had to have a conversation with my wife and tell her, look, we are upside down in a big way, and I can't pay the bills. And the creditors are about to start calling, and our credit score is going to tank. And there's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to do my best to turn it around, but right now, there's no good news. So she was pissed, and I get it. Like, I had led us off of a financial cliff, not intentionally, but that's what happened. And I got depressed, and I'd wake up in the morning, and I just want to take the covers and just pull them back up over my head. I don't know if you've ever been in a tough financial jam before, like what I'm describing, but that's where I was at. And I didn't know what to do. And one day, this thought popped into my head, focus on revenue-producing activities. So I began to do that. I asked myself, what are my revenue-producing activities? Generate leads, set appointments, run sales calls. So I started doing that. I let go of my problems mentally. Now, they were still there. The credit score was still tanked. The debt was there. The creditors were still calling. My wife's still pissed at me. All of that's there. But what I did somehow, some way, is I just parked them. Like parking a car, I parked the problems to the side, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what I can control. And I focused with the highest level of intensity of focus I've ever had in business on doing things that were going to produce revenue. And as I started doing that, money started coming in. A little at first, not a lot. But as the money started coming in, I started feeling better. And as I was feeling better, I took more action. As I was taking more action, I got into momentum. And I turned it all around. It took me 18 months. I paid off all of the creditors. And I rebuilt my business from scratch with a mindset. Focus on revenue-producing activities. If you ever need money, whether you're in a financial jam or you're saving for a trip you want to go on, or you're building your wealth or rebuilding your retirement accounts or whatever you need money for, whether your back's against the wall or not. Maybe you're doing great financially, but you want to build wealth. You want to invest in real estate. You want to invest in the stock, whatever. If you ever need or want money, focus on revenue-producing activities. This is the sales process that I taught Kathy. I teach this to all my clients. It's called the Sales Mountain. If you choose to become a client with me, it's $50 a month for a short period of time. I'm going to professionally train you just like I'm training you right now. I have so much more to share with you. This is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. What this is on the screen there is I break down the sales process into individual steps. You can see there, lead generation, appointment setting, trust and rapport, etc. So what I believe is dissect. We dissect down the sales process into individual steps, and we work on each step by itself. A chain is as strong as its weakest link. The way you get better is through professional training. You just have to put the work in. That's why I took my son down to the gym at 6 o'clock this morning. and he made 100 shots. He probably shot 150 or 200 shots. So he's working on his shooting. That's like working on trust and rapport. And I'm going to keep taking him down to the gym, and we're going to keep working on his shooting. And he works on his ball handling. He works on this, and he works on that, and then he becomes better. He's at camp. Isaiah Thomas, who plays for the Boston Celtics, used to play for the Kings. Well, he came out here to do a camp where I live in Rockland, California. So my son was at that camp. I was there right before I got on the webinar with you guys. And my son got Camper of the Month. You can see the video up on my Facebook feed. If you go to Facebook, type in Eric Lofholm, and you'll see my page is open. You don't have to be my friend to see it. And my son got acknowledged. So, how does my son get better at basketball? It's the same way you get better at sales. Basketball is a learned skill. Yes, you have a certain height and you have a certain athletic ability. But my son's going to become great if he chooses to because we go down to the gym. He works in his game. He's at the gym right now. We went to the gym this morning. He did camp till 3 California time. Now he's back in the gym again. But see, when you do that in business, you can become a millionaire or a multimillionaire. You can get your message out to the world. It's all predictable. What I'm telling you is you can choose to get better if you want. If you want to get better, there's a solution. So we work on each of these, real professional training, to get better. You got to work on it, but the rewards are extraordinary. Jim Rohn was famous for saying, for every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. For every disciplined effort, there are multiple rewards. So I'm working with a client. Her name is Shelly, and I asked Shelly about her pipeline, and she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, your pipeline. She goes, no, I don't know. I said, okay. Your pipeline is when you talk to somebody about your product or service, and they're interested, but they don't buy. So you whether you met them at a networking event and they express interest, they're not just a lead. And maybe you gave a full presentation. They go, you know what, I need to think about it. That's pipeline. You go to a networking event, somebody expressed interest, you haven't booked an appointment, they're in your pipeline. So she goes, I've never focused on that. I said, well, here's the deal, Shelly. You're giving these presentations. And if they don't buy, that doesn't mean they're not going to buy. It just means they didn't buy today. So I want you to start keeping track of everybody in your pipeline that hasn't said no that's expressed interest. So we get on the next coaching call, and I'm like, did you do your pipeline? She goes, yeah. She made a list of everybody. She goes, Eric, I am so excited. And I said, why? She goes, because I added it up. I have $40,000 in potential sales in my pipeline. I go, that's awesome. She goes, all I have to do is just follow up with these people, and I know a bunch of them are going to close. So there's different things I did with Shelly, but this was one of the main ones. When we started working together, she's making about $2,000 a month. Last time I checked in with her, she had a $6,600 month. Now, she's in direct sales, so there's a recruiting component and a duplication component in her business. So Shelly's teaching that to her team. So with shop.com, as you're bringing people on your team, take what you're learning from me, take what you're learning from Kathy, take what you're learning from the company, and then I call it train the trainer. You take what you learn, then you teach it to your team. So I like practical ideas that are easy to implement that work and make you money. So let me just check in with you guys. I'm not going to mention your name. I'm not going to call on you. But there's a hand raise feature in the webinar. All right? So here's the question. The question is, do you see value in this idea in the sense of that you're like, yeah, Eric, I could get better at managing my pipeline, keeping better track of these folks. If that's true for you, just hit the hand raise button. I'm not going to call your name. I'm just curious. Is there anybody on the call right now that's like, you know what? Yeah, I could do better with my pipeline. Just hit the hand raise button. Okay, fantastic. There's 8 on the call, 3 out of the 8, like, yeah, that idea, there's value in it. Well, here's the thing. A lot of success is habits. So you could have the habit of not managing your pipeline. You could have the habit of managing your pipeline. Okay, we had another person raise their hand. So now we had 4 out of 8, 50% of you. check this out, guys. This is so important. If from this call you're like, oh, I never really thought about managing my pipeline, and you decide to do it, and then you make a habit of it where, like, this is what you do for the rest of your career. You manage your pipeline. That could be $100,000 in increased income to you on that one idea. Like, this is not a small thing. This is a big thing. So I may have just transferred over, skill transfer. Oh, I need to focus on my pipeline. Never thought of that. Sometimes we need to be reminded of ideas we already knew and we forgot. Other times it's new ideas. Regardless, you can get on your A game in business. See, because like going back to the whole final countdown, I've got 11,000 plus days left. It's like I want to be on my A game. I want to squeeze everything I can out of the day. You know, I want to, whatever my impact is meant to be on this planet, I want to do my best to have that level of impact. So this is an idea that I learned from Dr. Moyne, my mentor, 21 years ago. And I've used the idea for the last 21 years. He said, Eric, before you deliver your presentation, figure out the success stories that you're going to tell in the order you're going to tell them in. So if Kathy's talking to a doctor, she's offering them the product or the business opportunity or both. What I would say to Kathy is, Kathy, figure out some success stories of other doctors that are involved in your business, and then figure out which stories you're going to tell in the order that you're going to tell them in. And then I would say to Kathy, do that as a habit, every presentation for the rest of your life. That's what Dr. Moyne taught me 21 years ago, and for whatever reason it landed. So I've been doing it now for the last 21 years, thousands of times, this one idea I'm teaching you right now. So I want to share with you a couple of success stories. This is one of my clients. His name is Doak Bell. He happens to be in financial services. Quite honestly, the industry you're in does not matter. My system will work for anybody in any industry. I have over 6,100 people in my programs all over the world, different countries, different industries. It makes no difference. Getting better at business and sales is principle-based. So Doak sends me this email. In life, we all have those people who have made a difference in our lives. In my case, you've been that pivotal person, the one who's helped me in the building of my financial practice. When you and I started working close together about 5 years ago, I was frustrated with the success of my business. I was at a point where I contemplated doing something else. I wanted to help educate people to make good financial decisions. The problem was I was not getting in front of enough people. And when I did get in front of them, I was not able to consistently move them to action. I'm just curious if that resonates with any of you. You don't need to raise your hand or anything, but just does that resonate? He says he's not getting in front of people, and when he does get in front of them, he's not able to consistently move them to action. A lot's changed in 5 years. Your sales and marketing ideas have made a dramatic impact on my business. It's been an amazing ride the last 5 years, going from about $30,000 a year in income. He was in financial struggle at that point, to now having months where I earn over $25,000 in a single month. So this is all about a skill transfer. Now, here's the 3 stages of wealth that I teach. Step number 1, if you're in financial stress, let's have you make more sales to get you out of financial stress. Step number 2, get yourself comfortable financially. Step number 3, build wealth. Take the money you're making from increased sales and invest to build wealth, so then when you're unable to work or you retire, then hopefully you've got enough money built up where you can live off of the wealth that you built. So Doak was in financial struggle when we met. We got him comfortable, and now he's building wealth. This is Doak with his wife Erin and his son Caden in front of one of their 6 rental properties. So Doak's in his 40s, setting himself up to retire a multimillionaire whenever it's time for him to do that. I want you to know that this is possible for any of you. Now, multimillionaire, not everybody's going to become multimillionaire, but any of you can make strides towards this. If you're in financial stress, let's get you making more sales, which if you work at it, you'll do it. And then let's take that extra income and get yourself caught up financially, get you comfortable, and then let's get you building wealth so you can have the best financial life possible. This is David Laster. He's in a company called Aflac. He said, I've been in your protege program, which is the program I'm going to offer you in just a minute, for over 2 years. I'm pleased to say I'm becoming a sales superstar. In addition, I qualified for the prestigious Aflac's President's Club, which will be going on a Mediterranean cruise to Italy and Monte Carlo. So he won the trip, the big trip with his company. 85 out of 60,000 get that. That includes the top 85 agents in the entire company, 60,000. I ended up number 45. I owe so much of my success to you. So it's a skill transfer. I asked David how much money he's made off my ideas. He's like, probably about $750,000. So this can be big dollars. I've got one last idea I want to share with you, then we're going to wrap up. I'll have Kathy share if there's anything she wants to share. And if there are any questions, you can type them in the question feature. We can do a little Q&A, or if you want me to unmute you, if you have a question, you can just type that in the question feature as well. So the last idea I want to share with you is called the Level 10 exercise. And if we were all together right now in a conference room, I'd say good evening, and then I'd have you say good evening back at a level 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'd go good evening, and then you guys would say good evening at a 6. Then I'd say, okay, let's do it again. This time we're going to play at a level 8. A little more energy, a little more enthusiasm. Good evening, everyone. And then you guys would all roar back, good evening, at an 8. And then I go, okay, we're going to one last time. This time we're going to play at a level 10. Give it everything you got. Good evening, everyone. And then you guys would all roar back, good evening, at a 10. So imagine we just did that. Played at a 6, played an 8, played at a 10. So here's the question. The month of July, we're wrapping it up. We got, what, a couple days left? During the month of July, on a scale of 1 to 10, what level did you play at? In the area of prospecting, on a scale of 1 to 10, what level did you play at? In the area of attitude and enthusiasm, scale 1 to 10, what level did you play at? In your relationships with the people that you care about the most, children, grandchildren, spouse, significant other, whoever your key relationships are, what level did you play at? In your health, what level did you play at? In your spiritual life, what level did you play at? Because my belief is you get out of life what it is that you put into it, and all the rewards are for those that play full out. So if you recognize, you know what, I didn't get it done at the level I needed to in any area of my life in the month of July, just make a decision and step up. August, you get a clean slate. Every day we have a new opportunity to step up. If you'd like to produce the best results you've ever produced over the remainder of this year and beyond, you must get yourself to do 2 things. 1 is to take some new action. 2 is to expand your comfort zone. One action you have that you can take, sign up for the same program that Kathy did. Allow me to professionally train you. I'm just going to spend a couple minutes and walk you through the program, let you know how it works, and give you a phone number to call or text to register or go to a website and sign up. And if you have any questions, you can just type it into the question feature, and we can do a little Q&A. The program is called the Unstoppable Selling System. The investment is $1,295. When I do webinars like this, I always do a special. So I've got a super special price to offer you guys tonight. This is a system sales training program. I'll teach you my systems on how to generate unlimited leads, how to set unlimited appointments, step-by-step how to close, how to handle every objection with confidence and ease. It's about professional sales training, skill transfer. So you have these skills for the rest of your life. The way I'm going to train you, one way is we do a one-day virtual sales training. So it's a webinar like today, except instead of an hour, it's a full day. And for those of you that like live events, that's one way to get the content. You don't have to do it that way. It's one way. We do that about maybe once a quarter. We'll do that event. You can come to that whenever you want. We teach the same content in our membership website. This is great for those of you that are self-starters. You go into the membership website and you train at your own pace. They're professionally recorded modules, my entire sales system, and you can do the modules on your smartphone, your tablet, or your computer. Third way we train you is we do a weekly call every Thursday at 4 o'clock California time, 7 Eastern. So I do a live call every week. Now, that call is recorded. If you can't make it live and you want to listen to the recording, you can listen over your smartphone, for example. There's a 70-page workbook with step-by-step instructions. There's a 12-week map in the workbook. And basically what it says is this. If you want to go through all the curriculum and self-study in 12 weeks, here's what you do in week 1. Here's what you do. It's all mapped out. It tells you exactly what to do. And then we have a private Facebook group with over 1,000 members where you can ask questions. You can share ideas. Hey, anybody out there doing a home-based business that has some great lead generation ideas? And there's hundreds of people in the group that are in home-based business. They'll answer your question. Couple of bonuses for signing up tonight, and we always do this. We'll give you an hour to sign up. We're going to upgrade you to a lifetime membership. So Kathy's a lifetime member. There's no additional fees or dues. So she signed up like years ago, and she can continue to train with me at zero cost for the rest of her life. 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. There's no risk here. Try it out. If you don't like it, no big deal. First 30 days, refund your credit card. The discount for signing up for the next hour is significant. It's $996. Makes your total investment $299, or we have a payment option, 8 payments of $50. So if you do the math on that, 8 times 50 is $400. Save $101 if you pay it in full. So it's either a one-time payment of $299, or you can do payments. So $50 tonight, give you a full membership access, $50 a month for the next 7 months. Way to register, you can go to this website, silverprotege.com, and you can put your credit card or debit card in right over the website there. Now, when you go to that page, it's going to give you a higher price. So click on the order button, and I changed the registration page. So like when you actually put your credit card in, you'll choose either $299 or 8 payments of $50. Or if you'd prefer to order over the phone, you can call or text 916-626-1945. That is my personal cell phone. So if you'd like to order, you can just text me there, 916-626-1945, call or text. And then either myself or my staff will call you back to complete your order over the phone. Little fun extra thing, if you sign up in the next 10 minutes, fast action bonus, and that'll start as soon as the webinar's done. I'm going to send you out a CD set, 6 CDs. It's about close to 6 hours of content, $199 value. I'll ship it out. You don't even have to pay the shipping. If you take immediate action, we'll throw that in as a free bonus. So let me put back up the way to register. That's how you register. And what I want to do now, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy. Kathy, you're still muted, so I'll unmute you in just a second. And then if any of you have any questions you want to ask, you can type it into the question feature. And if you want me to unmute you, you can just type in, hey, or can you unmute me, and I'll unmute you. And if the technology works, we'll bring you onto the live webinar, and you can ask the question over the phone. So, Kathy, I just unmuted you. Are you there?
I'm here, Eric.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, I can. Is there anything that you would like to ask or share?
Well, I can't actually. I'm used to hearing you say it, so I don't remember if you said it during this call. But one of the very first times I heard you said that what you teach is service with honesty, integrity, and compassion, and you teach moving people to action in their own best interests. And I mentioned at the beginning of the call that I was invited to speak to these doctors, and at the very beginning of the presentation, I asked them if they would agree that that's what they do. And they all shook their head yes. Mm-hmm. And so at the end, I was able to say, and you might be surprised to hear that's a definition of sales, because a lot of times we run into people who we know the kind of benefits they would experience because we've experienced them, but they get stuck on the idea of sales. So maybe somebody else is on the call that has. I once got on this very kind of call with you, Eric, and I asked you how I would ask somebody something. And you just off the top of your head said, oh, you should say this. And that actually changed my whole business, what you told me, that one question. So maybe somebody else has a question that they could write in the chat for Eric.
Yeah, just type it in the question feature if you have a question, or if you want me to unmute you, just let me know that. And what Kathy's referring to, I just found the slide. There's a stigma to sales in our culture, and that's true for any industry. Just in general, how people feel about sales, there's a resistance to selling. But if you think about the medical profession, I grew up in the medical industry. I have many nurses. My sister's a nurse, my grandmother, my aunt, and my father's a pharmacist. And so I grew up working in his pharmacy, so very familiar with the medical profession. And the idea of sales, it's just like huge resistance. And so if you're in a business where you are selling and you're uncomfortable with the idea of sales, we've got to change the mindset. So I teach selling equals service, sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion. Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. Change begins in language. And if you have a camera phone, just take a picture of the screen right now. My encouragement for you is to say what's on the screen 10 times a day out loud or to yourself for the next 30 days. And what you may find by saying the words on the screen 10 times a day out loud or to yourself is it may begin to shift your thinking about sales. Because when we're in business and we need to deliver presentations, it is, from my viewpoint, it's important to let go of resistance to sales and embrace it if you want to become successful. Think of it like this. If somebody wanted to find their soulmate and they want to have this wonderful, loving relationship for the rest of their life, and yet, on the other hand, they were afraid of commitment, well, that mindset of being afraid of commitment would probably sabotage them from attracting in their soulmate and living happily ever after. And so if I was coaching somebody, although I don't do relationship coaching, but if I was, I would coach someone working on letting go of that resistance to commitment. Well, this is a sales conversation. So understand that in business, resisting sales does not help us influence or persuade the prospect. It doesn't help our bank account. It doesn't help us helping the client. So when I train from, and I sell from a place of serving. That's how I'm selling all of you. I have a program for you to buy tonight. I want you to buy the program. I financially benefit if you buy, but I'm doing it from a place of service. Because in this exchange, if you apply what I teach you, you end up with the better end of the deal. I get $2.99. You get potentially increased sales for the rest of your life. So I'm serving you by selling. And so that's what Kathy's talking about. So, Kathy, thank you for sharing. And I am going to remute you, and I'm going to go back into the chat here because it looks like there are some comments here. So let me see what this question is. How do I provide value? This is from Tom. How do I provide value to my customers through the tours I offer in my tour company? Okay. I'd have to know a little bit more, Tom, about exactly what you do, but let me answer the question as best I can. When you think about the idea I shared earlier about think and grow rich, sit with an idea, and just think about it. I would think about, I would look at this tour that your prospects are receiving, your clients are receiving, and I'd look at it from their perspective. And I would think about, okay, how can I create value? Just like tonight, you guys have given me your time. And in thinking about this webinar from your viewpoint, here's what I come up with. You want great content. You want ideas that can make a difference in your life. You want to be encouraged and inspired. You want to feel this was a good use of your time. And you're okay with me offering an additional program as long as it makes sense, whether you sign up or not, as long as I deliver value. So I can come up with all that just by thinking of it from your viewpoint, by imagining it from your perspective. Another thing you can do, Tom, is you can go to your existing clients who did buy from you and just ask them. Say, I'm kind of wrestling with this. What do you think? What's the value that you got? And then they tell you, and you go, oh, wow, I never thought about that. And then you can incorporate that into your presentation. And then Tom says, how do I get people to think of taking a tour so compelling that they make a beeline to take one of my tours? Okay, so what happens in the mind of the prospect is there's a teeter-totter. And on one side of the teeter-totter is time, and on the other side of the teeter-totter is value. So if a tour is free, and I don't know if it is or isn't, but let's just say you have a free tour. If that's the case, you have to think, okay, what's the value that the prospect receives by agreeing to take the tour? If there's a fee for the tour, then you have to think even more about it because now they got to pay for it. Think about the timeshare industry. I've sat through more than one timeshare presentation. I've bought more than one timeshare. Why did I sit through the presentation? Because they offered me the lobster dinner cruise when I was in Cancun. They said, you sit through this presentation, we're going to give you the lobster dinner cruise. That was a value exchange. If you sit through this presentation, this is what we'll give you, because in that industry, no one's going to sit through a sales presentation on their vacation unless they're incentivized. Now, does that mean provide an incentive to have somebody sit through your presentation? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to think about the value exchange. So like tonight, in having you be introduced to my program and me making an offer to you, the way I did it creatively is I said, look, I'll provide you passionate, powerful sales training with, come from my heart, give you great ideas, and then in exchange, then, I'm going to offer my program at the end. So that's my value exchange. I'll be extreme, and sometimes I'll do 2 days of free training. I'll give away 2 days of free training, and that people scratch their head. Eric, why would you rent a hotel room and put on a seminar for 2 days for free? It's a value exchange. I'm giving away $500 in seminars in exchange for somebody to sit through my presentation. So those are a couple thoughts for you. Betsy says, who's also a client of mine, great webinar, amazing, amazing deal, Eric. And thank you, Betsy. Betsy has come out to California, and we've met before. And Betsy, great to have you on the line. Is there anyone else that would like to ask a question before we wrap up tonight? If so, just type in the question feature in the webinar, and I can unmute you, or I can answer your question. Anybody else? Kathy, I'm going to unmute you one last time. If there's just anything else you want to share, if you think it's a good idea for your friends here, your clients that you've invited, your team members to this webinar to sign up, if you feel that, you can share that. You can share whatever you want. So, Kathy, I just unmuted you. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Eric.
Okay, fantastic.
So I want to thank you for this. Every time I listen, another thing you've taught me is to listen at a deeper level, which has really helped me, because many of our trainings, and I mentioned at the beginning that we have our international training next week, I've been going for over a decade, and I hear the same stories over and over. So having taught me to listen at a deeper level has been really important. And maybe I'll just ask one question that I know everybody on the call has trouble with. How do they develop new leads? Where do you teach them so that they can figure out how to develop a new lead, how to find somebody?
Yeah, so I'm a system sales trainer, and I look to solve problems with systems. So a couple things. When we think about lead generation, we're going to think about online lead generation and offline lead generation. Offline could be like referrals, networking events, advertising. Online could be like social media, email marketing, opt-in on a website. Offline, public speaking, like what we're doing. This is a webinar, but it's really like an offline strategy. You could say it's online. But the point of it is you want to have a systems approach. You want to think online and offline. And a real simple thing you can do is you can apply best practices in your industry. So you look at what are other people doing generating leads? How do they do it? And then model their system. That also works in other industries. So I have a client who she sells life insurance on webinars, but hardly anybody does that. Everybody does face-to-face presentations on webinars. Point being, you can borrow a system on lead generation from another industry that's not common in your industry. So, for example, this webinar that you all are here on, this is me generating leads from doing a free talk, a free webinar. You could do that in your industry. You could think, well, what's a topic that I could talk about, and I could generate leads. Another great one is a reciprocal referral relationship. What that means is, that's what I did with this gentleman. His name is Josh. On the webinar I did earlier, I promoted him to my network. He promoted me. And that was, we were able to acquire new leads. It's not about webinars. Reciprocal referral relationship, that could work in any industry. So you have a network of people. So you could go to somebody and say, look, I'll refer you, you refer me, and you create this type of a relationship. Okay, it looks like we've had some more questions here. And Eric, could you explain the price of your program one more time? All right. So 1 year of training with me is $1,295. When I do webinars like this, like the show special, and we always offer a discount. So the discount that I'm offering you tonight is a $996 discount. So the math on that, $1,295 minus $996 is $299. So you can sign up tonight for a one-time payment of $299. You get the whole system, the virtual training, the manual, the weekly call, the Facebook group, you get everything, the whole system, for one payment of $299 with any major credit card or debit card. Or if you don't want to put $299 out, your cash, a little cash tight or whatnot, or you'd prefer to do payments, you can do 8 payments of $50. So when you go to silverprotege.com and you hit the order button, it'll show you the correct pricing. And so you just pick, do I want to do, like I'll just show you. I'll just take you over there and you can see how that works. Okay, so we would go to silverprotege.com, and the pricing on the website is $500. And so that's like the web special. But what we ended up doing was we changed the back office. So you just scroll down, hit the order button, and there's your options, $299 or 8 payments of $50. So $50 today and then 7 additional payments. There's your 30-day money-back guarantee. We take all major credit cards, Visa, American Express, MasterCard, or Discover. And so that's how the investment works. And thanks for asking that. Okay, we got another question here. Okay. Eric, I always enjoy listening to your webinars. I have an easier time getting leads, but often have the hardest time in the close. What's one thing I can do to get me there? Okay, that is a great question, because what happens is sometimes we have pieces of this down. Like in Francine's case, it's like, I've got the leads, I'm booking the appointments, I'm building rapport, but now I got a challenge in the close. Or somebody else might be good at the close, but they don't have the leads. So there's all, like, if you think about the sales mountain I talked about earlier, there's all these components. So what we do is we work on the close, and we get professionally trained. A couple tips you can do. You can write down your close of what you would say, practice it like the script in a play, role play it to build your confidence. You want to know exactly how you're going to ask for the order at the end as far as the money. So you want to, if you're offering 2 options, they can sign up for $295 or $495. You want to have all that language really clear. So when you get to the end, you'd say, what I'd like to do now is share with you how easy it is to get started with your own home-based business. You can come in at 2 different levels. We have a $295 option and a $495 option. For the $295, it covers this, this, and this. For the $495, it covers this, this, and this. What's included is this, this, and this. What you can expect is this. I think this would be perfect for you. I'd love for you to join my team. Would you like to join? And let's say they say yes. Great. You can sign up at $295 or $495. What works best for you? $495. And then you complete the order. So I'm just doing one off the cuff, but that's like the structure of a close. You want to get your languaging down. With closing, it's inner game, which is mindset, and outer game, how-tos. So what you're describing, it's a training issue. And here's the deal. It's possible you could fix that on your own. Reality is it's unlikely. I didn't get better at closing until I got trained. Like, I'm a chess player. I played a lot of chess. I don't know what my ranking is, like whatever my score is, but here's what I know. I've gotten as good as I can get being self-taught. And I'm a smart guy. If I want to get really good at chess when my life slows down later on in life, I might hire like a chess grandmaster to teach me. And I already know my skill set will go through the roof. Because I can't take it any further on my own. So just know that is a fixable problem. Okay, Linda says, got it. Eric, that is a great deal for us. I'm in. You know what? Thank you for sharing that. If you've ever looked at training programs like what I'm offering, they're regularly $2,000. Most of them are not lifetime memberships. And this is really, hopefully you all got my passion. And one thing to know, Kathy's been a client for years. She invited all of you. So she invited you because she wanted to introduce you to me. So it really, if you need this kind of help, I'd love to help you, and it'll really make a difference. The program is really, really well put together. And I'm just going to show you guys one more thing, and then we'll wrap up. And I just want to take you on a little field trip. So when you register, the way you log into the membership website is you go to my main website, which is saleschampion.com. You hit the login button. It'll ask you for a passcode. And then you'll go in to the program. There we go. You log into your membership. You go into training modules. Watch this before you get started. So you click on there, and it tells you how to get started in the program. So you just click on the play button. It's a little, 10-minute video. There's tremendous thought that has been put into this. This is just one aspect of the program. I'm just going to show you one last thing, and then we'll wrap up. This is the manual that you get. And within the manual, you can see here, this is a 92-page manual. Within the manual, there's a 12-week map. And it says, one of the outcomes, earn back your $299 tuition in the first 12 weeks through increased sales. So I want you to make your money back and increase sales immediately. And it tells you, here's what you're doing in week 1. Here's what you're doing in week 2. And just guides you through exactly what to do. So you'll be crystal clear on what I want you to do. I want you to have a great experience. So I'm just going to check the chat one more time. If there's anybody that has anything that they want to share before we wrap up, and then we'll conclude our webinar. Okay, it looks like we have everybody has had all their questions answered. So with that, we'll start a little 10-minute countdown now, and that is to get you the $199 CD set for taking immediate action. You can call or text the number or go to silverprotege.com. And Kathy, thank you for setting up the webinar, and I want to acknowledge all of you for coming and for allowing me to share this information with you. And have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.